Emergency.
Hey, what's going on, family? What is going on, family? I want to welcome you to the Black Soul Well podcast, where our mission is simple. We want to lead the culture to mental and emotional health through faith and education. I am your host, Kirby Anthony, and I want to thank you for joining us on this Tuesday, December the 28th, 2021. We're almost finished with 2021, y'all. What are your plans? What are you looking forward to in 2022? I hope that you are like me and like many other people are being intentional about getting your mentals in order and making sure that your mental health is where it needs to be, or at least that it's growing. I want to welcome you to episode 11. We are on episode 11. We have been broadcasting for a little over 2 months. Thank you, God, for just helping us with the consistency. I want to thank you for everybody that supports through the messages, through sharing the broadcast, and just helping me get the word out, because mental health is a very, very important thing. And I am glad that in communities of color, and specifically Black communities, African Americans, that we are beginning to have conversations when it comes to our mental health and emotional health. Because I can remember when there was a time where growing up, if you were in the Black community, you know, it wasn't something that was necessarily promoted, or, you know, it was often frowned upon, you know. But we are in a place now where people are taking it serious. They are getting therapy. We are reading books. We're becoming a part of groups and etc. where it's important. And so I'm glad about that. So check this out. Let me give you a few details, and then we'll get into our mental health tip of the week. First, I want to encourage you to visit us online. I'm going to pull this information up. You can visit us online at blacksoulwell.com. blacksoulwell.com. That's our website. You can go there. You can become a part of our email list. You can find out more information about our vision and etc. If you have any questions that you would like to shoot us, please do so at blacksoulwell@gmail.com. I also want to invite you to connect with us on our social media platforms. We're on Facebook and Instagram, and you can find us at the Black Soul Well podcast. And we are also on YouTube. If you are watching us on YouTube, I want to thank you for joining. And I want to encourage you, subscribe to our channel, our YouTube channel. It's at the Black Soul Well podcast. If you're watching us on Facebook or IG or checking us out there, I want to encourage you to follow our page. And I also want to invite you to pick up some of our merchandise. You can find out what we have at blacksoulwell.bigcartel.com. Once again, that's blacksoulwell.bigcartel.com. So check this out, y'all. I want to jump right into the mental health tip of the week. The mental health tip of the week. All right. And if you are watching, if you're watching on Facebook, I want to encourage you to hit that share button, tag some of your friends in the comments. Let's get the conversation started. Comment, let me know what you think. Throw your opinions up and etc. If you like information, put them in the comments as well. All right. So the mental health tip of the week. Did you know that today is National Call a Friend Day? That's right. Today is National Call a Friend Day. Now, I didn't even know that this day existed, but I found out about it earlier. National Call a Friend Day is celebrated every December the 28th, and it was originated to encourage people to set aside time to reach out to that one friend that they've been meaning to contact. You know, they say that the holidays, the main part of the holidays are over the Thanksgiving, Christmas, and people are kind of, you know, coming down off of that Christmas high, so to speak, and we're slowing down, you know, getting ready for the new year, but typically slowing down. And they encourage people to reach out to that friend. Maybe you have a friend or a family member, a neighbor, etc. Maybe it's an associate that's not necessarily a friend yet, but you've been thinking about them. Maybe you have family that you've been thinking about. All right. So on this day, National Call a Friend Day, December the 28th, we encourage you, people encourage you, get out, pick up the phone, that is, and call up your friends. And so I want to encourage you to do something. I'm going to challenge you right now, okay? Because, you know, we're all about challenging. We're all about growing, and we'll never grow unless we're challenged. Get out your cell phones right now. I want to challenge you to get out your cell phones. I'm doing it also. I am doing this also. And find a friend that you want to call. And I don't call them during the broadcast because I want you to pay attention here. But what I would like you to do is find somebody in your friends list, find someone in your friends list, and text them and just say, hey, you know what? I'm going to give you a call later this week, going to give you a call this weekend, etc. Let them know that you've been thinking about them and reach out to them. Okay, simple as that. Just checking on them, etc. National Call a Friend Day. Take out your cell phone, text somebody. I'm going to do it right now too. I'm not just going to talk about it. I'm going to be about it. So let me do that. And I am reaching out to a friend of mine that lives in Georgia. Because, you know, I'm not just going to talk about it, y'all. I'm going to be about it. I know this is kind of awkward, y'all. Give me a minute. All right. I reached out to one of my friends, okay? I reached out to a friend. I said, hey, look, hope your holidays has been well. Going to give you a call later this week. So I did it. I want to encourage you to do it. You know, and the good thing about it is, you know, it forces us to reach out. It forces us to make contact. And sometimes when we do that, you know, we can encourage someone. We can start conversations. We can see where they are. It lets off those good emotions because of the friendship, and it helps our internal well-being. Okay, so make sure that you do that. All right. Hey, look, we are getting ready to have this brief presentation, and then we're going to get into tonight's topic. Okay, so I want to show you this brief presentation titled Keep Fighting. Keep Fighting. You know, here at the Black So Well podcast, one of the things that we're all about is art as well. We value the arts. We value spoken word poetry. We value rapping, etc., storytelling. I am a spoken word poet myself. As a matter of fact, later on in the show, you're going to see a little spoken word piece that I did a couple of years ago. And right now, I'm getting ready to show you a video presentation, a slideshow, if you will, behind some opera music. Okay. All right. It's something that someone created that was a little creative and for our church. And I hope you enjoy it. All right. Keep fighting. Right after this, we'll be back and we'll get into tonight's episode.
Principessa, nella tua
Yeah. So keep fighting. What y'all think about that? Get in the comments and let me know. That was something that someone created for us a few years ago. Little creative with the whole opera and everything in the background, and the people in the gym. So we're all about the art and different things like that. I hope that encouraged you. I hope that it did something to you on the inside to encourage you to do just what the title of it says, and that's to keep fighting. All right. So look, we're going to get into tonight's topic, which the title of tonight's topic is how men can prepare their families emotionally and mentally for 2022. How men can prepare their families emotionally and mentally for 2022. And I want to specifically speak to Black men. The name of this podcast is the Black Soul Well, and one of the reasons for titling it that, or we came up with that title, is because we want to speak specifically to an African American. I want to speak to my African American, specifically to my African American brothers and sisters, as it relates to the issues that we face in our communities. And so, if you're a man, this is for you, but it's particularly for you if you're a Black dude. And so, tag your Black friends. Let the brothers know, all right, that we're going to talk about this tonight, how we can prepare our families and prepare our homes emotionally and mentally for 2022. Because when we think about the next year and people make resolutions and they set goals, how often do you hear people talking about mental and emotional goals? Think about that for a minute. Like, how often do you hear people discuss, well, you know what, as we go into the new year, I want to make sure that my children are better this year. Like the way that everything was going on this year with the pandemic, and there was some uncertainty. And so, sometimes I flipped out, and sometimes my household, my wife, my children, they bore the brunt of that. I want to change that in the upcoming year. I want to heal more. I want to grow more, and etc. Because, and we're going to talk a little bit about this later on. And excuse me for saying, my communications professor in my master's program, he would Dr. James Logan, Dr. Jim Logan, he'd probably be slapping me all upside the head right now because I keep saying, nonetheless, I'm trying to get back out of that habit. So just bear with me a little bit. I want to talk about how we can take the lead in preparing our families and our homes emotionally and mentally. How that we can start a new tradition in our homes. Sit our families down, talk to them about emotional and mental issues, getting our minds stronger, learning how to share our burdens with one another, or do a better job of that. See, one of the things about Americanized culture and Western culture at large is that it's very individualistic. It's very focused on competition and achievement and doing more solely. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's very individualistic and being the best and etc. And there's nothing wrong with that in and of itself. As you go to the Middle East, that part of the world, the culture is more collectivistic, which essentially means it's more of a collective where people are more together, where the needs of the family or the desires of the family outweigh the desire of just one individual in the family. And so that's where you hear a lot about, listen, this is our family name. You know, you're humiliating the family name. When you hear about that, those things often come from countries in the Middle East. And so our country is very individualistic. And so a lot of times it's all about me. It's all about what I want to do and etc. But imagine if we came together and said, you know what, I'm going to get my family together and we're going to deal with these issues, these emotional issues. We're going to be well as a family. We're not just going to get the bag. We're not just going to make more money. We're not just going to start businesses where, you know, we get more money, but we are going to be well. We are going to heal. We are going to be intentional about growing and etc. One of the things that I personally believe is that men should be compassionate, consistent, healthy, and strong leaders in the home. Once again, that's compassionate, consistent, healthy, and strong leaders in the home. There's a need to be firm, but there's also a need to be patient. There's a need to know when to take charge, and then we also have to know when to delegate. As dads in the home, or as men in the home, or whoever the head of the home is, we have to know when to be a teacher, and we also have to know when to be a listener, because it's not always about getting my point across, right? Or it's not always about what I have to say. You know, a big part of parenting, a big part of any type of relationship, regardless if it's with your children, regardless if it's with your wife, etc., whatever, your husband, on the job and your career, it's not just about me speaking and me getting my point across. It's about listening, right? And I believe that when the new year approaches, that men should have enough concern, foresight, insight, and vision to speak into their families and homes as we head into a new year. You know, think about that. Imagine being in a position where you can get your family together at the end of the year, and you can just speak vision into them. You can just speak vision into them. You can share vision, and you can give knowledge and wisdom. Give them the game. I can remember some years back, and if you're in the comments, let me know that you're there. I'm not able to read all of the comments now, but we will get back with all the comments, and hit that share button, tag somebody for me, all right? But I can remember years ago, the basketball player Serge Ibaka. Y'all know who Serge Ibaka is? Serge Ibaka is a basketball player. I don't know who he plays for now, but I remember he played for the Toronto Raptors. I know he once played for the OKC Thunder, and I can remember watching a video on him years ago where he talked about how every year he would go back to his home country in Africa, and he would bless them and give certain money. You know, he's an NBA player making lots of money. And I remember the cameras had followed him one year, and he went into this compound. He went into this big compound, and they closed the gates. And he told the cameraman, he said, "No, you can't come in." He said, "Because this is family business. These things I only share with my family." And I thought that was so powerful. And imagine men, fathers, and men over their homes doing that at the end of the year, getting their families together, discussing what happened in the previous year, talking to them about direction for the new year, and just sharing wisdom and knowledge and etc. Being able to provide a sense of comfort, being able to provide a sense of peace, perhaps being able to share and be a voice. One of the things that people need in society today is a voice of reason, a voice of calm, a voice of assurance. If you are a father and you've been alive at least 30 years and even younger than that, but at least if you're at least 30 years old and you have children, you should be able to speak into their lives and speak from your experiences. No, you don't know everything. None of us do. But to be able to speak into their lives and to provide a sense of calm, a sense of it's going to be okay, a sense of assurance. And so, dads, fathers, men, we need to bring our families together at the end of the year, and we need to help prepare them for the upcoming year, emotionally and mentally. And this is essentially what I mean by that. I essentially mean this: surveying the communal, cultural, and societal landscape in order to assess and address certain realities and opportunities for growth as it relates to mental and emotional health. That's what I mean by that. When I'm talking about fathers preparing your homes for 2022, essentially what I'm saying is surveying the communal, cultural, and societal landscape in order to assess and address certain realities and opportunities for growth as it relates to emotional and mental health. That's being intentional about your mental and emotional health, right? We often plan resolutions for the new year relating to our physical and financial well-being. But what if we use just as much energy in order to assure that our families and homes and our internal health got better? It's not just about the bag. It's not just about the bag. It's about my soul being gold. My soul's gold. I'm going to start that hashtag, my soul's gold. I already started it. My soul's gold. If you see that, know that it started with the Black Soul Well podcast. And so here are some areas to consider. Men, as you are preparing your families and your homes for 2022, emotionally and mentally, here are some things to consider. First, you have to consider, I said this a moment ago, certain realities. There are certain realities that we have to consider as men, right? One that we all have to consider is the pandemic. COVID-19 is not going anywhere. You know, we are ending the year with 2 more variants than what we started. And they're talking about this, and I hope I pronounce it correctly. The Omicron, I think that's how you pronounce it, or Omicron, the Omicron variant. They say that's highly contagious. In the last week, I've received 2 calls about 2 friends that have passed away from COVID-19. And both of them were unvaccinated. They got COVID-19. 2 friends. These are not people that I heard about. Now, prior to that, I had other people that I knew that were what I consider maybe 2 levels deep. Like I may not hang with them every day, but they're a friend of a friend, and I know of them. I've had friends' wives that have passed away from COVID-19. There's a good friend of mine here in Charlotte, North Carolina, another pastor, and their child's baby's father, 21, 22 years old, in the military, healthy, passed away from COVID-19. And so it was already hitting home and close to home, so to speak. And then people in our family getting sick, almost dying, almost leaving here. But then in the last week, 2 phone calls back to back about friends that died, right? So much uncertainty. COVID is not going anywhere right now. Experts say that it's going to be another year or two before the scientists and health experts really get a hold on this thing, right? That's a reality that we as men and fathers, we have to prepare our homes for. We have to talk to our children about the importance of protecting ourselves. Okay, I don't know, and I don't know what your belief is, but I know in my home we all are vaccinated, right? But you have to speak to your family about the seriousness of the matter and how to prepare for it mentally and emotionally. COVID is not going anywhere. It's affecting people's jobs. You know that on certain jobs they're trying to make mandatory vaccinations. And then it's affecting people's leisure. You know, they're saying you got to have a card to enter into some restaurants and eateries. Isn't that something? And then travel. You know, some airlines, maybe all of them, you can't even travel unless you have a COVID or a vaccine card, unless you have a card showing that you've been vaccinated. That is a reality. And one of the ways that we prepare our families is sitting them down and explaining to them, this is probably not going to go away anytime soon. But here's what we can do. We're going to be okay. We're going to protect ourselves. We're going to make wise decisions. We're going to follow the science. If it's your choice, and I would encourage you to get vaccinated, we're going to still do all of the recommended guidelines like washing our hands, wearing a mask, staying 6 feet apart, etc. Or maybe you don't choose that and you go in another direction and you're just willing to deal with whatever the consequences may be. And that's totally your choice. One thing's for sure, brother, we need to talk to our families about the realities of COVID-19 and everything that it encompasses. Okay, that's just a certain reality that we have to talk to. Here's another reality that we have to talk to, and this affects us particularly as Black people. The division in our country among the two main political parties, Democrats, Republicans, of which I'm neither. I always tell people that I'm not Democratic, I'm not Republican, I'm not a Republican, I'm not a liberal, and I'm not a conservative. Sometimes I'm a little too liberal for my conservative friends, and sometimes I am a little too conservative for my liberal friends. You know, I'm right there in the middle. You know what I say? This world is not my home. I am a child of God, a follower of Yeshua. I see the good and the bad in both parties, and so I'm not either or. But one of the things that is for sure is that over the last 4 years and even longer, we have seen this uptick in race relations in our country due to politics and a lot of the things that have been said and etc. And I won't get into all that now, but I will say this: you know, as Black fathers and Black men, we have to prepare our homes and at least make sure that those who are in our care understand what type of time it is, and recognize any potential dangers. There's also opportunities, but we have to recognize that. Now, I'm not talking about preaching fear in your home. Definitely not talking about preaching hate in your home. Not at all, especially as a child of God, as a follower of Christ. But we definitely have to understand that there are people in this world who will dislike us simply for the complexion of our skin. And last year they talked about how there was an uptick in violence for example, for in the Asian community because of some of the previous events and some of the things that had happened. All I'm trying to say is this right here. We have to speak with our homes and prepare them mentally and emotionally. Hey, listen, some things are going to make you angry, but don't allow your emotions to carry you. Don't act out of your emotions. Don't even be baited by some conversations. Don't even get caught up in the middle of that because it's not healthy. It often leads to fruitless arguments and etc. Those are the conversations that I'm talking about. Here's another reality. Here's another reality. A reality that we have to talk about, especially in the Black community. Listen to this. Pandemic. The pandemic was linked to a rise in violent crimes in Black communities. Previous research found violence increased in U.S. cities during the pandemic, but it did not pinpoint where violence was highest or increased the most within cities. But listen to this. Julia Schleimer, a research data analyst with the Violence Prevention Research Program, the VPRP, at the University of California, she writes this. Zip codes with higher concentrations of low-income Black people and people of color experienced substantially higher rates of violence from March to July 2020, the pandemic's first months, than did zip codes with higher concentrations of high-income white people, right? We already know that. We know that that kind of stuff happens. But she specifically said that zip codes where basically there was poor Black people, there was more violence. So one of the realities of this COVID conundrum is that there are more violence in poor Black communities. Listen to this. She went on to say, we estimated that in 2020, on average, there were approximately 14 more incidents of firearm violence in the least privileged zip codes compared to the most privileged zip codes, and almost 150 more aggravated assaults and 5 more homicides. She said that in a university news release. The difference in the burden of violence in poorer versus richer neighborhoods was greater during the pandemic than in prior years, according to the study recently published online in the American Journal of Public Health. All right. So that's a reality. That's a reality. This pandemic has produced violence, more violent crimes in our poorer Black communities. Now, as Black men, as Black fathers, we have to have these conversations in our homes. We have to prepare our loved ones. We have to know this type of data and know this information so that we can prepare them, so that we can talk to them very plainly and practically, so that we can avoid any potential problems, right? It's real, okay? We have to prepare our families mentally and emotionally. We have to understand that this is one of the realities of living through a pandemic, especially in poorer Black communities. And so, how do we prepare our families and homes for this reality emotionally and mentally? Here's a couple of things right here. We can be intentional about planning times when you and the family can get away to take vacations. And vacations doesn't always a vacation doesn't always necessarily have to be out of the country or out of the state. You can do a staycation, right? Where you can say, listen, we're just going to shut everything down and we're going to spend time as a family. You know, pull back from the noise. These are the type of things that often we don't do in the Black community. And I understand it's a lot of times there may be a situation where, you know, one or both parents, or if one parent is in the home, they're always working and etc. and all kinds of stuff. But we find time for what's important to us, and the mental and emotional health of our families needs to be important. Here's another thing. We can learn to avoid, deal with, and overcome toxicity. You know, there's been so much drama and pain with the pandemic, a whole bunch of it. And sadly, there's going to be more, I believe. I believe that 2022 is going to be another challenging year on different fronts. And sadly, it's going to produce more brokenness, right? But the man or whoever is leading the home has to be strong enough to deal with the toxicity. We have to be strong enough to speak and to cover and to lead. We have to lead by example and teach our family how to navigate through it. We have to teach them. We're the voice of instruction. Like Solomon said in Proverbs 1:8, my son, hear the instruction of your father and do not forsake the teaching of your mother. See, when the going gets tough, the tough get going. And that's how men and fathers, how we have to be in our homes and in our communities. We have to be an example of someone who takes their inner health seriously with our families. Let's get together. Let's have group meetings. Let's talk. Let me find out what's going on with you. Let me find out what's going on with you. And I know that people are busy. We get very busy, especially today, and especially as your children get older and they can just leave the house and they're working and doing all kinds of stuff. But you know what? We can still take time to speak into their lives. We can still take time to speak into their lives. I can remember a couple of years ago, I saw this interview with LL Cool J, one of the cats that I admired growing up, one of the hip hop godfathers. And I remember they were talking to LL about his children, and he was just sharing how proud he was of his kids and how well they were doing. And the interviewer asked him something along the lines of, well, what's the secret? And do you sit down with them and you just share with them all the time? And one of the things he said, well, they're big now. Like, they're in and out of the house. And he said, I don't always get time. He said, but one of the things is when I catch them, he specifically said, like in the morning time when, one's walking to the bathroom or we're in the hallway or something. And he said, I'll just spend a few minutes, and I'll talk to them. And we have these little conversations and meaningful conversations. And I was like, wow, man, I thought I was the only one. Like, that is so true. That is so real. We have to take the time to speak to our kids, to speak to those in our households, and to show them that mental and emotional health is important. All right. Opportunities for growth. So we talked about the certain challenges or certain realities, but there are also opportunities for growth. There are also opportunities for growth. When it comes to these mental and emotional issues in African-American communities, we are so far behind the power curve. We are so far behind the power curve. We struggle. We have challenges. There's all these things going on. But we can make up that ground and we can grow. 2020 was tough. 2021 was tough. We started off difficult. January 6th will be the first anniversary of the insurrection at the Capitol. 2022, I think, is going to be tough on different fronts. And it's going to open the door for more people to be broken. However, sometimes desperation breeds a desire to find opportunities. Doesn't it do that? Sometimes when we're desperate, it breeds a desire for opportunities. And one of the things that happened during this pandemic is you notice that there were more people starting businesses because they were getting fired from their jobs, laid off from their jobs, all kinds of changes and different things happening, and people were taking it upon themselves to say, look, man, I can't deal with this. I'm going to make some income. I'm going to make a job. And I'm talking about legally. All right. That's what I'm talking about. Legally. And so people were finding ways to create income and to start jobs and to start businesses. And that's cool. I thought that's one of the beauties of, or one of the good things that happened. But here's the thought that I had, and a lot of people say, oh, I'm breaking generational curses. Oftentimes when you see somebody post a meme about breaking generational curses, or they post something about generational curses online or how they're breaking it, it has to do with money. It has to do with money. And so they'll say, I'm breaking generational curses, and they'll have a big wad of money and etc. But here's the thing. You can't break generational curses with money alone. We can't break generational curses with money alone. Look, chase the bag, but learn how to heal as well. Because how many people do we know have money, but they're broken? They may not be broke, but on the inside, they're still broken. And so once again, don't just chase the bag, but learn to heal as well. And as we look forward to 2022, there are some opportunities for us emotionally and mentally, for our homes, for our families, and we could prepare them. We have the opportunity to change and shift the way our families deal with deep hurts, uncertainty, internalized pain and trauma. We have the opportunity to prepare them. We can teach them, this is how you go forward when it comes to uncertainty. This is how you go forward when you're dealing with certain issues. We can encourage them to seek out help early, to get therapy early, to help them to see that there's nothing wrong with getting help. I mentioned earlier how that when I was growing up, if you got therapy or were seeing a counselor or something like that, it was always frowned upon, like you were weak and etc. I'm so glad that that's turning around, because people are realizing that my inner health is just as important as my outer health. We can teach them that inner wealth is just as important as material wealth. We can show them that we have a responsibility to be intentional about our emotional and mental health. Now, we have to be intentional about it. It's not just going to happen overnight. And here's another thing. We just can't let entertainers and movie stars who are often broken and jacked up themselves teach us about emotional and mental health. We listen to entertainers, we listen to singers, rappers, all this stuff, and we look to them. How many times have we said things like, well, or we heard people say, well, man, I didn't have my dad growing up. So, so-and-so raised me. This rapper, I listened to his lyrics. He taught me how to do this. He taught me about this. And they learn through those lyrics. No, we have to be the ones teaching them. We have to be the ones helping them to understand and to know that you have to be intentional about being well. Now, here's a caveat with that. That is going to require some of us to get out of the box of our cultural norms. We have to get out the box of our cultural norms. Like, for example, I know that in churches, I saw a meme earlier this year that said this. The reason that some of you all are still struggling is because you're trying to praise your way through something that you should be getting counseling for. And essentially the idea was, it's self-explanatory, but essentially the idea was sometimes in charismatic circles in the church world, we have a problem and we think, oh, I'm just going to sing and shout and dance and get all emotional and cry, and then my problem is going to go away. Now, you might feel better in the immediate, right? You might feel better now. But what about the principles that you need to go on? God has given some doctor, some therapist, credentialed therapist and doctor, information to help you. All right. So if we're going to be intentional about our mental and emotional health, it may cause us to get out of the box of some cultural norms. Here's the last thing I want to touch on. Then we're going to have a moment of inspiration and we'll be finished. This is one of the most important things and one of the easiest things that fathers and men can do to prepare their homes mentally and emotionally for 2022. You can learn to often ask the occupants of your home how they're doing and be consistent in showing them that you care. None of us have all the answers. We all have issues. We all have struggles. Sometimes that's one of the reasons that it's hard to help our children, because we feel like, man, I know that I'm struggling. How can I help them? But you don't have to be perfect. You just have to be there. Show them that you love them. Often ask them how they're doing. And guess what? If you don't have the answers, you can share with them who does have the answers. You can point them in the right direction. That's one of the main things right there. Helping people to know, helping your family to know, your sons, your daughters, your wife, your spouse, whoever, that they are not alone and that you are with them and that you're going to be with them, that no matter what happens, no matter what pain they're feeling, you are right there with them and you are going to be there. All right. So if you're a man out there, if you're a father out there, I hope this information encouraged you. Put it to practice. Let's help our homes and our families prepare for the challenges and the opportunities, for the realities of 2022. We don't have to be afraid. I don't know what your particular belief is, but I follow Yeshua HaMashiach, Jesus, who is the Christ, the anointed one. I follow him and the Holy Bible, the inspired word of God. That's what I look to. And that's the foundation of our home. And so although we recognize these realities, we understand the challenges in this country. We understand the challenges of people of color and Black people in this country. We understand all that. We understand the history of this country. And we know that there are challenges. And I talk to my children about them. And although we understand that there are some hurdles that we have to cross, and there are hurdles as a people, and then there are hurdles that we have to cross as a family. But guess what? We're encouraged. We're standing on our foundation. All right. So listen, I want to share this moment of inspiration with you. And then when I come back, we'll have some closing thoughts with some resources, and we will be finished. Second Corinthians 5:17 state, if anyone is in Christ, they are a new creation. The old is gone. The new is here. A new world to explore, especially a new world within. Then why is it that I continue to struggle with some sins? I thought that once I began to follow Christ, that all the mess in my life will automatically be cleaned up, and all that I had to do was stay on the path that's right. But I soon learned that in my journey with God, I'm going to make some mistakes. Although my heart is intent on doing his will, I still have a body and a soul that I need to dominate. See, my flesh is going to always try to be the best. And even on the days when I see the test, I already know that I'm going to be a mess. God, once again, I'm in this broken place, and I'm desperate for your grace. It's in these moments when my spirit man is choking, like someone stranded and hopeless, drowning in the ocean. It's in these moments that I remember that God is not done with me yet, and that this walk is a marathon, not a sprint, and that Jesus was heaven sent, who then sent the Holy Spirit, who is the helper, who makes God's word evident. Check this evidence found in Philippians 1:6. He who began a good work within will be faithful to complete it until the day when Jesus Christ returns. What a promise to embrace. What a passage to learn. Such encouragement allows hope to burn inside my heart, and the wheels of faith once again turn, and I'm reminded that God is not finished with me yet. Have a great week. Be encouraged in our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Peace. All right, all right. God is not finished with any of us yet. If you have breath in your bodies, and guess what? There's still time. There's still hope. Hey, look, we're getting ready to get up out of here. I hope that this was an informational podcast for you tonight. And this is what I want you to do. I would love for you to email us and let us know how we are doing. Okay. Email us. You can email us at blacksoulwell@gmail.com. blacksoulwell@gmail.com. I would love to hear your thoughts. I would love to hear what you think. If you're on Facebook, you can also inbox us on our personal page. Get in the comments. If you'll watch this later, get in the comments. Let me know what you think. And before we leave, I want to share some resources with you. We are a podcast that has to do with mental and emotional health. and there's some resources that I want to share with you before we get up out of here. First, the information is scrolling along the bottom of your screen. The Black Mental Health Alliance. That website is blackmentalhealth.com. The phone number is 410-338-2642. If you like some information or resources, if you like to speak with somebody, you can call that number during normal business hours. You can go on the website and get resources. Also, there is the National Alliance on Mental Issues. The National Alliance on Mental Issues. That's NAMI.org. They have a website that's filled with resources for getting help on mental and emotional issues. And then finally, if you are struggling with thoughts of suicide, there is the National Suicide Hotline. Their website is suicidepreventionlifeline.org. And their phone number is 800-273-8255. Once again, 800-273-8255. And they are available 24/7. Okay. Look, I want to thank you so much for checking us out tonight. Once again, if you are on social media, if you're on Facebook, share the video, tag your friends in the comments, get in the comments yourself. Let me know where you're watching from. I certainly appreciate it. If you are on YouTube, please comment there as well and send us your questions to blacksoulwell@gmail.com. Be safe. Have a safe and wonderful new year, and we will see you next Tuesday at 7 p.m. Peace.
Peace by J.T.